Hello, everyone. So I'm glad to talk about generative AI tasks for remote sensing, data processing, and here is the content of our today lecture. We will discuss the fundamental topics in remote sensing data analysis that includes such specific topics as data set preprocessing, data set adjustment and enhancement for future neural network training, and we will cover several specific topic and applications such as land cover analysis, different climate structure recognition, forestry analysis, and natural hazard prediction and monitoring. So let's start with some example of AI-powered solutions on the data fusion platform that was developed at Skoltech. We focus on several main topics for environmental analysis and ecological monitoring to support decision making in strategic planning and regional sustainable development of territories. The main sphere of applications are the following. It can be monitoring of different hazards such as flood event or wildfires. It can be analysis of carbon stock that is essential for ecological monitoring and planning, and to develop all these tools we need artificial intelligence, and we need to collect the specific data, to preprocess this data, and to create solutions that allows us to conduct this analysis faster and with high accuracy. And here are the main topics that are crucial for environmental analysis, and they are the following. It is land cover category classification, wildfire monitoring, carbon stock assessment, forest degradation through some period of time, flood monitoring, and extraction of different forest characteristics based on satellite images processing. To develop such solutions, we need data sets, and there we can face the following problems. The first one is limited spatial resolution. So what does it mean? If we work with satellite data, we have some measurements that quantify the pixel size, and for some tasks we just need a medium resolution. That means that we can use just 10 or 20 meters per pixels, but for particular tasks with object recognition, we need more precise resolutions for several meters per pixel, or even
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So please check.
The next challenge is image noise that usually occur when we work with satellite data. It means that we can observe clouds, cloud shadows, snow, and we need to extract to delineate such pixels for further image analysis. Also, another problem is the difficulty of data annotation because to collect a specific data set, we usually need to conduct ground-based measurements, for instance, to identify the forest types, and in this case, it is really expensive and time-consuming to conduct such studies, such observations, and collect all measurements. Therefore, we need to develop advanced algorithms that allow us to develop machine learning solution using limited amount of annotated data and with some specific characteristics such as spatial and spectral type of data. So the main approaches to address these problems include the development of deep learning, artificial intelligence, solutions to generate additional data and to enhance the quality of this data. Here is a small example of the approaches and the practical applications. We can consider the following workflow, the general workflow. How can we develop geoinformation system for and spatial monitoring? Here are 5.
Sorry.
So here are 5 steps that we can consider during our research and the platform development. The first step is to conduct the dataset adjustment and extension. Here we can consider classical approaches such as augmentation technique, when we synthesize new data using the original one by applying different color and geometrical transformations for these images. And we can also consider a more advanced approaches such as using deep learning and we can implement different generative models based on GANs, diffusions, visual transformers models, and so on. The next step is to exclude the damaged pixels, the damaged areas, which can be clouds, shadows, snow, and other pixels that won't be considered during the solving of downstream tasks. The next step is usually to identify the basic types of surface to understand where we should further analyze particular objects. So for instance, if we solve the downstream task of infrastructure objects recognition, then we should exclude such areas with agriculture fields or with forests and with water bodies and other areas that are not interested for current research. And on the next step, when we develop our computer vision approach and conduct a segmentation of a surface with the basic classes, then we can try to develop more specific algorithms and more specific solutions to understand the hidden properties and the specificity of some areas. For instance, we can create a solution to understand the types of agriculture fields, or to understand a carbon content in forests, and to conduct some additional analysis of the surface that require additional domain-specific measurements and probably ground field observations. And finally, all this information can be combined and can be used to develop artificial intelligence solution for some processes to forecast some events such as floods, wildfires, or storms that can help us to mitigate them, to prevent some drastic effects, and take some actions in time. So let's start with the augmentation technique that help us to extend the initial data set. And here we should also take into account the specificity of remote sensing data, because in the general domain we have one rules, and in remote sensing applications we should consider both spectral, spatial resolution, some properties in data such as shadows from the objects, and here is example of the augmentation or copy-paste approach for the general domain, and we can adapt this approach for the remote sensing domain by taking into account all this specificity. We can conduct such experiments where we create a new data set using the annotated small data sets, and we can create new samples that can represent new environmental climate conditions. For instance, if we work with some objects in city environment, and then we want to collect a new data set for forested areas, it is simple to conduct object-based augmentation when we include some specific rules to create new samples. And here we observe that even such a simple yet effective approach helps to improve the quality of further downstream task solving. And another important task is connected with multispectral specificity of data. So it means that usually when we work with satellite images, we process not only RGB bands, we can work with 10 or 20 bands, and we need to specify computer vision algorithms to work with such specificity, and we can face here the following problem, that if we work with a medium spatial resolution, that means 10 meter or more meters per pixel, then a neural network approach for segmentation task usually relies on the spectral features more than on some special features, the structure of surface or something like that. So here, as an example, we consider the task of forest type classification, and we want to develop a model based on multispectral images using the inventory data from one forestry. And we face the following problem, that the model trained on a single image, on a single multispectral image, fails to provide a high quality for new images, for new data for the same territory, or if we move from one forestry to another. And here you can see also the plot of spectral bands values distributions for different dates. So here we observe 6 different observation dates, and we see that we can't easily approximate the spectral values from one data to another to have the same features for our images. And as I have already mentioned, the collection of forestry of specific ground-based measurements is expensive and time-consuming. Therefore, it's really crucial problem for such environmental tasks to create approaches that will be robust for moving from one region to another, or from one observation data to another. And how can we solve such problem? We can take into account the satellite observation specificity. Here we have several observations for the same territory from different observation dates, and we can combine this information and use it as an additional type of spectral and temporal augmentation. How can we conduct it? We can collect several observations for the same territory. For each observation, for instance, we have 10 spectral bands, and then we can try to combine the bands from different observations to create a new synthesized image that will include different bands and preserve the initial structure of the target area, but with some changes in spectral values. So we preserve the physical initial structures, but at the same time we extend our data set, and we observe that this approach help to helps to improve the classification quality both for forestry analysis, other surface classification, and for other environmental tasks. And the next approach that we can apply for dataset adjustment and extension is based on generative neural networks, which includes such tasks as super resolution and band synthesizers. These approaches are more expensive in meaning of computational cost, but of course they support more flexibility in their created solution. And here is a taxonomy of satellite image super resolution, and we can split this approach into the following key aspects, such as data that we use to train our model. We can use paired or unpaired images to prepare a data set, and in case of paired images, we will use the lower resolution one and higher resolution one. They can be from the same satellite or from two different satellites, and the aim of model development will be to create a higher resolution image based on lower one. And in case of unpaired data, we can use just a single source of satellite observations, and we can also consider different approaches, such as self-supervised learning, or we can downscale the initial image and develop approach based on the downscaled and the initial image. Also, if we speak about algorithms, here we can observe some classical approaches, such as pan-sharpening, when we have additional information about special properties of image, and we synthesize the RGB bands to create imagery with high resolution based on this information. More advanced algorithms are connected with machine learning, deep learning approaches. We can consider generative adversarial neural networks, and of course now we can consider diffusion-based models, but here we should also take into account this specificity of remote sensing observations, and create additional adaptations from the general domain of computer vision to the remote sensing one. And speaking about this specificity, let's repeat once again that we can observe the spectral and temporal difference in the data. About spectral observations, as it has been already mentioned, we can observe RGB, multispectral, hyperspectral, or panchromatic bands, and we should add additional layers to our neural network, add additional connections between the feature maps to extract this information in more details with high specificity, and then we can also work with different number of observations. That means that for some tasks we require just a single observation, and for another one we can use multi-image super resolution to extend the features that we use to create a new higher resolution sample. Then the results of these approaches can be applied for different target downstream tasks, such as precision agriculture, assessment of the impact of natural and man-made disasters and hazards, and monitoring changes in infrastructure objects, and other tasks that occur in environmental monitoring and ecological decision making. So here we observe an example of developing a super resolution approach for infrastructure object recognition, and the goal is to improve the resolution and have a higher quality of identification of buildings footprints on medium satellite images. Here we can apply also different approaches and combine them to achieve a higher quality of the predictions. And here you can see the synthesized images and some small regions where we can see that the boundaries of some target objects become better delineated visually, and we can further train the computer vision algorithm for the segmentation task, and we also can include end-to-end training of such models to conduct such research simultaneously and adjust image and segment some objects that leads to high quality of the solving task. And probably you have heard about such basic algorithms such as real yes-or-GAN or SR-GANs that can be also adapted for improving the quality of images. And here you can see this process for the initial 10 meter per pixel image, and the image with high quality where we can clearly identify some small objects, some buildings, roads, and other infrastructural objects. And here is another example with high spatial resolution when we map 4 meter per pixel image to 1 meter per pixel, using also some adaptation and customization of the basic generative adversarial neural networks. And this is that the quality becomes higher, and it helps for further analysis. Speaking about the diffusion models, here the images are more realistic, but we should also be aware of some hallucinations of the diffusion models when they can create some tiny objects that do not exist in on a real image, and to avoid such behavior, there are also different approaches to train a model. And here are some additional examples for RGB with different environment, with different light conditions and areas of the study. And speaking about some additional transformations and adaptations of a model, here we can observe that for some areas the characteristics of the generated samples can be different depending on the process, how we generate the image, the prompts that we use, and for satellite data, in addition to low resolution image, we can use also some prompts for our model, such as generate high resolutions satellite image with particular surface type, for instance, for the urban area or for some agriculture fields, and it is assumed that using some such additional information and the context of the generation can lead also to higher quality and help us to create more realistic examples. And also we can implement these techniques for multispectral bands, and they provide more information, more spectral information. It has some pros and cons, both in the development of algorithm and its application. And in some cases, for such domain-specific forestry tasks, we can use up to 8 or 10 spectral bands with different resolution to make new samples and to combine them for our environmental monitoring. Here you can see an example of such approach when we develop a model for forestry analysis, and you can also find some open access data set for multispectral data, super resolution, but one of the main limitations is that the openly access data sets are usually lower resolution, and for some tasks we need to collect our own data set, to buy satellite images, and to identify the territory which we need for our further analysis, because there are lack of data sets for particular countries, particular regions. And here are examples of different approaches where we compare several strategies. For instance, in Sentinel-2 satellite, we have a part of bands in one spectral resolution and a part of bands in another resolution, and we can try to enhance both of them simultaneously, or we can integrate such approach when one neural network works with one set of bands and another these other of 4 or 5 spectral bands, and we observe how the context, the information from other spectrum help us to improve the quality of the generated high resolution images. And here are some examples of the initial bands and the upscaled one. And for different bands of visualization, we have also observed that some regions become less blurred, and it can be then used to identify forest species, because in this task we rely on spectral features more than on texture. And here are some example of individual forest stands that we analyze during this study. So we upscaled the images and then conduct additional classifications of these regions of interest. And combining the original images and the synthesized high resolution images, we can improve the quality of classification for different forest species. And here we compare the rather standard generative approaches and the advanced diffusion-based model adapted especially for multispectral images. And another possible experimental setup is multi-image super resolution, where we consider as a low resolution samples several images from the different observation days or from the different angles, and we combine them, and based on these observations from different timestamps, we can create a new high resolution sample using this spatial and temporal information. And here we can also observe some example of generation where we have 8 low resolution observations. They are rather blurred. It is difficult to recognize some objects based on individual observation, as you can see on the low resolution example. But when neural network observe 8 or 4 such low resolution image, it is possible to synthesize such target distribution, and we can see that now it is possible to identify the type of surface, some objects as roads, buildings, even for some special resolution we can identify some vehicles, cars, and so on. And another task is spectral band synthesizes. So for some satellites we do have more than 3 bands, but for high quality data with high spatial resolution, we usually have just RGB. And it's another question: how can we create additional bands using just RGB1? Because for downstream task, it can be required to observe both RGB and near infrared or some other bands that provide information about vegetation specificity. For instance, we can use this knowledge to understand the health of vegetation, or to understand the period of growth for some trees or other types of vegetation. And here is the idea is we can train a neural network based on a large data set without markup. So we need just original images with RGB and near with near infrared band to extract some dependencies between the structure properties and the values of near infrared band. So we can collect such data, but how can we then evaluate the quality of the generated samples? And the general idea in such tasks that we can use some metrics from the general computer vision domain, such as SIM, PSNR, MAE, or something like that. And all these metrics compare the initial image and the generated one. But how can we understand that some metric is good for our task? Because for instance, when we use with the general domain of computer vision, we can evaluate the quality of the generated image just based on our visual assessment. Is this image high quality? Is it pleasure to see this image or not? But in this case of environmental analysis, we try to integrate some downstream tasks to evaluate the practical efficiency of the generated band, and we can use it for some vegetation analysis tasks. For instance, to delineate the forested areas based on these generated and original samples. And we can use different approaches to compare the results of generation on our collected data set, and then we evaluate their results for these images in several downstream tasks, for instance in agriculture assessment and for forestry analysis. And it was a correct hypothesis that even generation of additional synthesized images help to improve the quality of segmentation or classification. What does it mean? It means that we can collect less expensive satellite measurements. We don't need additional equipment on board on satellites, and it helps to make the study of environmental analysis less expensive and more available for different purposes. So when we generate some new data, when we conduct additional augmentation, then we can move to the next basic step to identify the types of surfaces. And here the general approach and it's a result when we train a neural network to identify the land cover types, and based on this assessment, we can compare the maps for different years and understand some environmental changes for some rapid actions to mitigate the different ecological problems. And such approaches help to conduct monitoring for large territories and for remote regions where it is expensive or even impossible to conduct ground-based measurements. Another application and another important step for creating of spatial monitoring is to identify climate structures such as clouds, snow, and shadows from clouds. And here we can also implement another generative artificial intelligence technique we can apply in painting methods to create new samples, because in some cases we have data set from one satellite, and then we want to create a new data set, but we don't want to make annotation manually, and if in case of land cover classification, we can just simply reuse the annotation from one satellite to another for the same territory. In case of shadows, we can't simply match images and observation time for different satellites, and therefore we need some additional approaches. And here we can use the in-painting technique to combine some copy-paste approach when we select some region of interest without the target objects, and we identify the territory, the region where we want to create a new object, and then using a neural network we fill this area with the pixel values for the target objects, for clouds, for the shadows, and its approach how we can extend the data set with new samples without manual annotation. And another task is to conduct a transfer from one satellite payload to another one. And here we can also integrate some main adaptation technique to merge the properties and the specificity of the different sensors, because for satellites, even if we have the same spectral bands, their values are not usually the same. They have different range. Also, they have different lighting conditions during their observations, and it leads to some noise and difference in the images. And here are some examples of the approach of when we create new samples on the original background, as you can see here on slide, and we combine this original background, the masks of the target objects, and here we create a new highly realistic sample that that can be difficult to recognize, to understand that it's not a real sample, but it's a generation of artificial intelligence. And also, we can work with multispectral bands, but here we should preserve some properties and dependencies between the spectral bands, and this task is more difficult because for human eyes it is easier to understand some properties in RGB spectrum, but we cannot be sure that some connections between the RGB is still correct when we add some changes. Therefore, we usually don't apply any color transformations for the multispectral images. We can apply it just for RGB spectrum, and for multispectrum, we usually use just geometrical transformations. And now is example of forestry analysis application where we can use these base maps of different types of surface, and on the next step we already know the boundaries of some regions, and we can dive deeper into the problem and analyze some specific properties such as forest age or forest height, or different types of the surface that can be extracted based on some color representation and geometrical texture features of the image. So the goal here is to predict the dominant forest species by a single satellite image with different spatial resolution and different types of spectrum bands. The target users for such approaches are foresters, ecological and governmental organizations, and the relevance of such approaches also is simple to understand. It's we can decrease the cost and the difficulty of field-based measurements for vast and remote territories. But here the following challenges that make this task difficult and require additional analysis and some advanced approaches. The first one is diversity within each class, because when we work with forested areas, we have rather simple annotation. We know the dominant forest species within individual stand within a particular region of the forest, but we don't know the distribution of all other species within this area. So it means that we can have several species within particular area. For instance, birch, pine, something, or another species, and we know that the dominant one is pine, but for other types of tree, we don't know the exact location of other pixels that correspond for this other forest type. And it's a problem because it's a noise in markup, it is a noise in data. and we can apply here some weakly supervised learning to deal with such problems. Also, we observe some markup faults because the field-based measurements can be conducted several years ago, and we still use this inventory data. But since these observations, something may happen, and here we observe example of logging in a tree in a forest, and we need to update such maps, but for this purpose we have some models trained for land cover classification that we discussed on the previous stages. And it also helps to solve this problem with markup faults. And finally, as a commonly observed problem is highly imbalanced classes in data when we have just several samples for a particular type of forest, and most of other individual stands just from one or two types, and we need to train our model to have a robust classification quality. And we can also consider different approaches from some classical to more advanced with generative artificial intelligence, and we can also combine them using the following ideas. For instance, when we work with different type of data, we can use the hierarchical structure of these target observations. For instance, if we work with different forest types, we can split the task into several subtasks on the several levels. So, for instance, for the first level, we should understand the areas with covered with forest. On the other the stage, we should understand where the deciduous and coniferous areas, and finally we can understand the species. And if we train individual model for each of this stage, for each of these tasks, it allows us to use less amount of data, but to have more precise, more specific data. Also, we can combine this strategy with some generative approach when we can in paint for particular individual forest stands with the target properties. So we can select some regions and change the type of target class within this region. And of course, as we have discussed on the previous slides, we can also adjust the quality of the images, so to map the lower resolution satellite observations to the higher resolution one, to have more information, even if we have the same amount of annotated data. So let's recall that for such type of tasks we face a scarcity of annotated data, but we can use a huge amount of non-annotated observations from different regions and different satellite types. And here are results for implementation of hierarchical approach, here it is shown that it helps to improve the quality of recognition, and also we can combine the basic satellite observations with some additional bands such as synthesized spectrum, or with high measurements that can be generated based on LiDAR observations, and all these advanced approaches are also connected with synthesized new samples, new data, and new spatial information. When we conduct some preliminary study, when we understand particular properties of the surface of the target areas, we can also combine it for the next step, for more specific analysis, such as carbon stock estimation for different territories. It can be both forest areas or agriculture fields, and different in different environmental conditions. And for this type of tasks, we also use machine learning algorithms, and we can combine some deep neural network and the classical machine learning to extract additional information and make our prediction more accurate, even for small regions or for small amount of annotated data. Another task is forest degradation through satellite images, and here we combine both high resolution and medium resolution observations to understand the properties and the damaged regions in the forest. So the reason of damages here is bark beetles. This research was conducted in the Perm region, and the bark is called Phallographus proximus, and it spreads. It is spreading drastically in this area, and to understand the direction of spread and the type of spread, we should understand and analyze observations for the different dates, even for several years. And the first step for this research is to train a model to understand the damaged areas, and it can be done using different approaches, such as segmentation or the detection one. And here we observe the following problem. We have openly accessed medium resolution images, but for these images we cannot observe some small particular areas. So we can conduct the manual annotation just using a high quality, and here we propose a solution where we use some base maps for a particular year, and we use it just to pre-train our model, and then to support an analysis for different years we use medium resolution images. And here the size of high resolution is 1 meter per pixel. It is easier to to see the damaged forest, and for the medium resolution we use 10 meter per pixel images. And here after the pre-training the model, we can create the annotation automatically for vast regions, and then we can combine it in such data fusion pipeline with medium resolution data, where we cannot manually delineate small regions, but we have assumption that even in a pixel with 10 meter resolution, we need some amount of signal that that allow us to identify the properties, the spectral impact of the damaged areas of the trees. And based on this information, we train another model and create a map of the forest properties for this area. And also here we can try different feature space. We can work in RGB, or we can combine it with HCV images to understand some properties, because in HCV we can see that the representation of damages more is clear, is easier to understand, to see, and it also helps to achieve better results of classification. And so finally, let's speak about natural hazard prediction and monitoring using satellite observations. And we will start with flues monitoring using Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 satellite data with multispectral and radar measurements. And here, let's first of all let's discuss why do we need the combination of multispectral and radar observations. First of all, if we have clouds on some territory, we cannot simply use multispectral, but radar sensor works with such environmental conditions. It doesn't depend on cloud surface, and therefore it is really a useful source of satellite observations in different climate conditions, particularly for some northern regions, because their part of the year all days are just clouded, and particular for flues events, we usually observe clouds, and we should work in such conditions. But why do we need also multispectral observations? The reason is the following. The radar data usually more noisy, so the signal has different types of noise, and it is really difficult to create a robust solution just based on radar measurements. And therefore, one of the approaches is to combine these two types of data sources, and to switch between them. So for some cases, we can use both multispectral and radar measurements, and for particular cases, we use just one of these images. And another challenge is their observation time. So for their observations repeat in 5 days, so we don't have the constant observations, and we need to use all data that we can find for this task. Here are some examples of the developed approaches where we identify the types of land cover surface. We can find the urban territory to analyze the damage of flood. And here the satellite images before the flood event. And after that, we can observe the same territory during the flood. And we can see the changes between these two dates, and we can see that a part of a town has been flooded, and based on this analysis, we can understand and calculate the damage of the areas. So we can combine several approaches. We can identify the infrastructure objects, their type. We can also assess the time, the duration of the flood, and based on this information, it is possible to conduct additional computation and calculate the cost of such damage. And it also helps to mitigate the consequences of such flood event. And also to make our model more robust for different territories, we can combine these multispectral and radar measurements with additional geospatial information, such as digital elevation models that evaluate the height of surface for different regions, and we can compare the features, the description of different territories, both before, during, and after the event. Also, here we can apply different self-supervised approaches to pre-train our model, even if we don't have enough amount of annotated data for particular regions. We can use unlabeled samples, for instance, with radar observations, to pre-train the model in using different strategies such as contrastive or masked learning, and then fine-tune the model using a small amount of manually annotated samples for particular regions. For instance, in some regions of Russia or China, and also we can consider this stage as preliminary results, preliminary study for another important task of flood forecasting. For each task, we should combine the measurements from different sensors the old data with some previous events to collect to create a data set, and here we face the data fusion, the multimodal and multimodal approaches where we should work simultaneously with different environmental and geospatial information sources to create feasible and robust AI approaches. And finally, let's speak about wildfires, occurrence and spreading predictions. Here we also need to conduct some data fusion from weather conditions such as wind, humidity, temperature. Also, we need information about surface properties such as land cover types, or some information about vegetation such as age of a forest, height of forest, and other specific characteristics. And we use some additional information, digital elevation model information about roads, cities, so about some infrastructure objects. And here we use more than 60 different features to create a specific feature space for further predictions of forest of wildfires spreading and occurrence in different regions and in different environmental conditions. For such type of task, we can also use deep learning or machine learning approaches, and researchers usually combine these techniques to deal with different with different problems, such as the distribution of previously happened events, some climate features, and so on. And to create these solutions, we can consider different horizon of the prediction. So we can consider 1 day or 5 days, and depending on the duration of the fire, we can also modify the approach. And also for such type of task, we should remember that we can synthesize data. So when we speak about weather forecasting, we can use some specific special resolution, but if we want to make a prediction of fire spreading in a resolution of 600 meters or something like that, it can be better to use weather with the same special resolution. But now it's impossible to do for vast territories where we have just a limited number of weather stations, and we have limitations for resolutions for resolution of weather forecast from the different open access platforms, and therefore it's another option to implement generative artificial intelligence to create more precise and more high quality weather prediction and implement it in a forecasting system. Here are some examples of the used features, and we can also evaluate the importance of each of this feature, and we should highlight that weather condition is one of the most significant feature to predict the wildfire behavior. Also, we can use some simulation to create wildfire behavior in different conditions, and we can understand the direction and the speed how the fire will behave in several hours or in several days. There are three general types of wildfire analysis that include fire occurrence, spread, and detection identification. The difference is the following. For instance, the first stage can be the wildfire occurrence in next several days, and after that, when we create a map with the probabilities that in particular region will be wildfire due to some environmental condition, due to humidity, hot summer, or something like that. After that, we should take some actions. So for instance, the forest should be closed for visiting, and some additional measurements can be conducted. And after that, we should use the detection model that can help us to identify immediately the occurrence of wildfires. We can do that using some satellite observations that allows us to identify the ignition point and to provide all necessary information. Or we can use some stations or some video and analytics to identify the ignitions in forests. And after the wildfire is detected, one can use the wildfires spreading model to forecast the behavior for the next day, and all these algorithms should combine the spatial information and the implementation of advanced and specific machine learning, deep learning, and generative artificial intelligence approaches. And here is the example of the wildfire probability occurrence map, and the really happened fires in particular region in Irkutsk. So that's all. Thank you. You may ask questions.
Thank you for your talk. Correct me if I'm wrong. in terms of the flood prediction, actually what we can do now is to predict what areas are flooded. In fact, it's not like we're able to predict whether the flood will happen like in a few days.
So there are approaches that combine these two stages, and for some regions we can predict the flood event, but for instance for some Russia and China regions we do not have such open data sets, so it's a challenging task, but it can be solved using using artificial intelligence. And here on the slides, I demonstrated the segmentation of the flooded areas after the flood event. So it was not a forecast.
So there was a forecast. I thought it was a prediction. And actually, you need, correct me if I'm wrong, but you need a flood to happen, and you need an image of that flood in order to predict the next flood. So basically, if this area never flooded, or you don't have images of this area flooded, then you cannot predict that.
So we need to collect a data set with previously happened events, but it's not necessary that the future event will be in the same location, because we assume that artificial intelligence model will understand some properties and understand which exactly weather conditions and other environmental properties affect to flood occurrence in future.
But what it might be, if not like the particular image of a flood, then what in terms of forest, okay, it's like the age of forest, its temperature, etc. But in terms of flood,
so to predict a flood, we won't. Yes, of course, we won't use any future images of the flooded area for a particular this event, but we can use some images to analyze the surface of this area, to analyze some digital elevation model, and create a prediction.